that time. Pancho leg stand and punchy America. Banji doll, Pancho leg stand and punchy America. Banji doll, Banaban walk on your leg, Kankara water no watching. Oga level leg, gear power, leg, Panda with ya, punchy America. Panya doll, Vano, Chingatongo Pandon, could you ever buy a check out? Papu Panda Jiro, what there be doll venting. Stand punchy America, Banji doll, Banaban Pancha leg stand punchy America, Banji doll, Banaban walk on your leg, Kankara water no watching, Oga level leg, gear power, leg, Panda with ya, punchy America, Panya doll, Vano, Chingatongo Pandon, could you ever buy a check out? Papu Panda Jiro, what there be doll venting.
Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome to Lake State Media. My name is Abraham Mijaga. I'm Lake State Media co-host. This morning, we would like to update the public about the recent incident happened in Kajo-Keji area for 3 people have been lost. So we have our guest here, Tate Moon, to give us the public update what really happened in Kajo-Keji. So my co-host Majok, welcome. So you can introduce our guests to the public. So welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much, Abraham. To all our viewers on Facebook, Clubhouse, and on YouTube, you're all welcome to Lake State Media show of today, the 28th day. That is 29th, of May 2022. And with us in the studio today, we have my brother and our usual guest, Brother Edmund Yakani, the CEO of SEPO. And Brother Edmund will be here to brief us and update the public on the incident and tragic incident which happened in Kajo-Keji yesterday. So many people are wondering, especially South Sudanese, what transpired and what prompted the incident to take place. So my brother Edmund, you're highly welcome to update the public and general situations, and then we will ask you the questions. And to all our audience, either on Clubhouse, on Facebook, you are entitled to pose any questions that you wish to be answered by my brother Edmund Yakani. Yeah, Edmund Yakani, you can activate your mic and update the public on the incident of Kajo-Keji.
Hello, I hope I'm clear.
You are crystal clear, my brother.
Yeah, just let me tell your audience that I will put off my video because of internet issues. So at least we can use the platform better. So because with the video, it may give me a lot of shortcuts. So just let me raise that in the beginning so that nobody asks like why my picture or why I can't show my image. So thank you very much. To go straight forward to the updates is that an incident happened in Kajo-Keji where we have lost life of innocent civilians murdered by members of our South Sudan People's Defense Force. And the victims are, 2 of them are children, and 1 of them is an elder. One is called Yobo Milosuk at the age of 18 years. with his younger brother called Justin Milosuk of 18 years old. And one of the disease is called Taban Yeager, 38 years old. He's a bomber administrator in one of the bombers of Kajo-Keji County called Kiri. Kiri is a bomber of a Payam called Kangapotu Payam in Kajo-Keji County. What triggered the violence, the genesis of the violence? An SSPDF soldier who got missing for 2 weeks. And he got missing for 2 weeks. Later on 26th of May, he was found dead in the bushes in a village called Itoro, which is a village of Kiriboma. Or if you can use Kiriboma, one of the villages of Kiriboma, he was found dead. And he was found dead by civilians. So civilians found the dead body of the soldier, and they reported to Kajo-Keji police unit that there's a dead body of somebody in the bushes. So when they report to Kajo-Keji police, the Kajo-Keji police went to the scene or to the site of the crime. So they went there. After they went there, they saw the body, and they realized the body belonged to a military officer who belongs to South Sudan People's Defense Force. So the police, after the scene, then they walk out, and they went to the military barracks of Kajo-Keji to report that they found a body of a soldier who got missing in the bush. He is dead. And then the military said, okay, where is the location? Then the police told where the body is. Then the military took up their vehicles, 2 vehicles, with the soldiers in each vehicle. One vehicle is completely soldiers of SSPDF, and they are in number more than 5. And then another vehicle is mix of SSPDF and police officers. So they went to the site of the incident. As they went to the site of the incident in Kiriboma, they found these 3 civilians who were murdered by the SSPDF. They asked them, where is the dead body? And the first vehicle that arrived, it is the SSPDF vehicle of the soldiers which arrived first and found these 3 and asked them, where is the dead body? Then these 3 were found together, so they escort the military to the site of where the dead body is. So they shown the military that here is the dead body of the soldier, of the SSPDF soldier. So at the moment when these soldiers jumped out of the car and they saw their colleague is dead, they asked the 3, who killed this person? The 3 said they don't know. So at the moment of answering, we don't know, they shot at them. First, they shot at the 2. They shot at the one with the age of 18, that is Yobo. Then they shot at his younger brother, Justin, who is 16. Then the bomber administrator man asked, like, what is wrong? What is happening? We don't know who killed this. Then they shot at Taban, dead at the spot. And when the second vehicle, mixed of police and the SSPDF soldiers, arrived to the site, they find already these 3 guys were killed. They were shot dead. They are already shot dead. So it became, of course, an incident of outcry that the other colleagues were asking, why do you kill these civilians? But didn't stop there. After they killed, what they decided is that the soldiers, the SSPDF soldiers, start terrorizing the community, beating people. Around 12 civilians were beaten after the shot of these 3 civilians. And in the process of beating the civilians, they beat an old woman to a hospital level. She was taken to hospital. They confiscated 14 phones from the civilians. And later on, they returned 2 phones to the owners. After the owners of those 2 phones gave them beer, so they returned the 2 phones back to the owners. They took along with them 12 phones. And also, in the process of they going back, getting the body of their colleague, they took with them 5 civilians. One of them is a breastfeeding mother who is up to now, as I'm speaking, she is with the military in their barracks. So during the burial of these 3 bodies of the civilians, which was murdered by our military, the youth protest in Kajo-Keji, many people demand in Kajo-Keji, and that demand is that they need justice to prevail. At the same time, also, they need the military to be moved out of Kajo-Keji because they have seen quite a number of similar atrocities that has happened, harassment and intimidation from the military. And even they went further as with their placards asking the commander to be reallocated out of Kajo-Keji. The commander is called Camilo. So, of course, that raised commotion and motion. People are demanding for justice. Of course, it's a tragic act, as you said. We strongly condemn it. We don't condone such incidents. So there's a condemnation from one end to another, almost like everybody's condemning, for the soldiers to be held accountable. So during the burial, the commander ordered the arrest of the 5 soldiers that were involved in shooting the 3 innocent civilians. As I'm speaking now, the 5 SSPDF soldiers are arrested and detained in the barracks of Kajo-Keji military base. Of course, what people are now demanding, and that is key, is that people are saying these soldiers' trials should take place in Kajo-Keji. They should not be reallocated. And this is coming from a background, my brothers, where similar incidents has happened in some parts of the country. And normally when the military decide that they are relocating the soldiers to face justice in another location, normally such soldiers found released or they disappear or justice naturally died. So that's what has happened. At the level of state government of Central Equatorial State, the State Security Committee called for a meeting and they condemned the incident. And of course, immediately also, the State Security Committee decided to form a committee to go and investigate the incident. And then the leadership of South Sudan People Defense Force also condemned the incident and they called for justice. So now, as we're speaking per now, the anger of the public is that the action of the soldiers for killing these innocent civilians, which is tragic because the soldiers took the law into their hand. And this made them to lose total trust and confidence on SSPDF officers in Kajo-Keji. So they need this SSPDF to be reallocated or change, the whole force to be changed plus their commander. That's what people are demanding on the ground. The implication of the incident, what implication have it made? One, this incident have made an implication where many people have lost trust on the SSPDF and they're returning back to the refugees camp in Uganda. And of course, in the refugees camp, the message is that still we don't have a conducive environment back home that motivates us to return, because if our own army are now taking away our lives in that tragic manner where they murder us and they feel like they have the law into their hand, that's one thing that have caused an implication in the incident. And the other thing that, of course, based on that also, the question of the nature of the soldiers have raised a very serious question on the identity of the soldiers, who they are and why they shot these particular civilians. What are the motivations behind it? Was it that because there's a tension between the civilian population and the military in Kajo-Keji? Of course, this has gone further, that even some people start also raising that some of those SSPDF are coming from a particular tribe and they are paying back what might have happened in Mogale, which that means it's a revenge on the citizens. Of course, some people as far as when quoting it as like it's a revenge to the Equatorians from what has happened in Mogale. That's what the implication of this incident have left to. So what is my opinion or my take? My take is that first, as we all condemn these particular incidents from one end to another, as we call for justice, what we need to see is we need to see an immediate provision of justice. And that's why I'm one of the person who come out and call the military justice to establish an urgent military court martial to go to the ground and try these soldiers in Kajo-Keji, hold them accountable, let justice prevail. But that is not enough. Even if the soldiers are held accountable, the level of mistrust and the lack of confidence that have raised up because of this incident, there's a need for restructuring the SSPDF leadership and presence in Kajo-Keji, in the sense that the military need to be very far from addressing issues that are supposed to be policing issues. So I think that's really a very critical moment there. But obviously, whether we like it or we don't like it, this will be linked with the issue of presence of cattle in Kajo-Keji and specifically the cattle that comes from our sister state of Jongole. People always, that tension, we raise it up, so we need a quick solution to that particular issue. And the other thing I'd like to bring as an opinion is that the leadership of the police in Kajo-Keji also need to be checked, because a crime has happened where police have went to the site of the incident. What made the police in Kajo-Keji not to leave at least soldiers in the site of the scene, or leave soldiers around the dead body? And police could have gone to the military, and police could have called military police to come together with them, or whatever military want, to pick the body, without the military rushing ahead emotionally and killing the lives of these innocent civilians. So I think also policing services in Kajo-Keji need to be questioned and held accountable, and also need to be restructured, because I know in places like Kajo-Keji, military are so powerful than the police. Any incident that might have been a policing service incident, normally military right to jump in, and specifically if it involved their member, like what has happened. That's one thing. Other facts that I would like to bring is that the disease who was found dead, the SSPDF soldier, so there's an incident that rope was found on his neck, like he committed suicide. That's, of course, require independent investigation and verification, so we can't conclude for that. That required because he's found with a rope on his neck. But before he found with a rope, the 2 weeks that he was missing, he was seen in that particular area robbing and looting civilians. He was involved in incidents where he was looting, robbing, terrorizing civilian population, confiscating funds, grabbing money. So the disease was found also engaged in exercise like that. That might have contributed to his death. So all these facts require independent investigation, but obviously solutions that will really lay down concrete solutions is one. Those army 5 who are arrested in the barracks need to be tried by court, by military court martial, and not anywhere. And this need to be done inside Kajo-Keji, because citizens want to see justice prevailing. As I said before, sometimes such incidents, you've come to realize that the soldiers who are involved are transferred to another location, and later on you find that they have been released, and you come to realize justice is delayed, and people say, okay, this is business as usual. So I think you don't treat Kajo-Keji case as business as usual. The second thing that I feel, it is very important also, there's a need for us to think about the presence of armed cattle herders within the community of Kajo-Keji, because that may take a different new dimension and trend that we need to find a solution to it. And of course, this should be in line with the president's order for cattle to return back to their land. Of course, both now in Kajo-Keji, this involved the Nkabor and Mundari cattle, which are mainly in that area. So we need to handle that. Of course, some of colleagues may ask, why do we connect with the cattle? It's simply because the tension between an armed civilian population and armed population in Kajo-Keji is becoming more dangerous. And of course, it's a tragic incident that has happened. And I wish also to see a statement from our leadership. Like, I wish President to speak over this issue, so to show a commitment that the leadership at the top level is also concerned about this tragic attack. And if you see this incident, it's not the only one. There's a lot of incidents of similar cases where our military are involved in taking away life of innocent civilians in similar manner. So that is really a big issue. Remember, there's a recent incident in Lobonok where almost a family is finished up, almost shot all. So like a daughter with her grandmother, with their children, they are shot. Also still justice is demanded around that area. And of course, similar incidents are happening, not only, I don't say so that people see me regional, in some other parts of the country, similar incidents are happening also. So I think the leadership of our military need to take responsibility. They need to distance the military from handling such policing incidents. So the tension in Kajo-Keji is high. The situation is now calm, as we're saying. One thing that I would like to bring forward, of course, is just like in any other conflict that happened, we have people who take advantage of this situation to start promoting hostile propaganda and hate speech and misuse of images. The authentic image of incidents in Kajo-Keji that I like to say, because I saw some people also start playing around with pictures, the actual images that represent the assassination of the three family members in Kiriboma of Kajo-Keji is when you see those pictures of three dead bodies, that's one of the characteristics. Three dead bodies of a male, they are buried together, their burial is done ceremonially together. You see there's a demonstration with the flag, with the bit of placards, with messages. Those pictures represent authentic images of the incidents that's happened in Kajo-Keji. So, but I've seen there's an image where there's two soldiers standing on a body. That image, it is not, it's an image which was uploaded by someone, and I think it's uploaded that as an incident. But the connection between that image and the incident of the murder of the three innocent civilians, where two are brothers and one is a bomber mission in Kiribom of Kajo-Keji, is not connected. So that's one thing that I like to clarify, because if you see where the soldiers are standing, there's a mangoes like fallen down, something like look like mangoes on the ground, while these boys are killed, there's no mangoes. But I'd like to say, whatever the situation is, we strongly condemn the incident. And this incident, we can't wait for justice until tomorrow. We need justice today. And as I said, is also, I would like to take this opportunity to tell your audience that the government need to listen to the voices of the citizens on the ground. What the citizens demand constitute what they see as a concrete solution to their situation. Whether meaning changing the military base of Kajo-Keji plus the leadership is an option the citizens propose. That will be taken up seriously. And really, the government need to take that serious as an incident happened in Kajo-Keji. And I think also the question of the state officials start threatening those youth who have raised the placards for demanding for justice need to be stopped, because I've already started receiving calls from some of those youth who have raised the placards that their life is under threat. They're receiving threatening phone calls. I think the state need to stop those agencies, if they're state agencies, who are threatening the youth who have raised the placards, because freedom of expression is required. And this is completely a murder case, an assassination case, a tragic case that nobody will condone. Everybody will condemn. And specifically this particular moment where we say we are expecting at least return of IDPs or refugees from Uganda back to the community, and our leaders were calling for their return. Now, with this particular situation, return is not going to be possible. This is a message I'd like to convey to whoever is listening in this, until our government saw responsibility of making justice prevail and rule of law prevail. Because also one of the things is that the more you leave the urban setup, the state capitals, the more you go to our counties, there's a total breakdown of rule of law. There's no rule of law there. And the military take a lot of policing responsibility. And that's why in that incident, Kajo-Keji is when the military start playing policing responsibility. This is a tragic incident that we have seen has happened. But as I said, the best solution, it is a call made by the communities of Kajo-Keji during the burial. The message is to the placards. The leadership of the country at county level, at state level, at national level, need to take those calls serious as a way of regaining a bit of trust and concrete solution to what citizens see as a solution to their quest. Thank you. Over there.
Thank you, Brother Edmund Yakani, for that well elaborated statement and briefing. First of all, before I move to any question further, we just need, as Lagos State Media platform, we are here to submit our deepest condolence messages and our sympathies to the families of these victims, and most especially the mother who lost her two sons at the younger age. It is heartbreaking and it is something very sad indeed. And to the people of Kajo-Keji, and especially Kiri Payam, it is a tragic that need to be condemned by all South Sudanese in unison. And to my brother Edmund, you really answer almost each and every questions which I was supposed to ask as a follow-up questions. But my brother, there is a concern to all citizens. people are asking our government, where is the safest place that you can show us to move to? South Sudanese are dying in refugee camp in a foreign land, and people are dying in major cities, and people are dying in the villages. Now, where is the safest place South Sudanese should go to? This is the question every South Sudanese have to pose to our government. Literally, if our own soldiers are turned against us, then completely there is no hope. Many citizens were hoping that you will be safe if the military barrack is next to your village. Unfortunately, it is turning to be a different story. If you are far away from the military barrack, then you are also at the risk by any known gunman can walk through your village and gun you down. And now being next to the rescuer, that is military barrack, is becoming another threat to our lives. It's very sad indeed. Number two, you mentioned things to do with the police. That the community found the dead body of SSPDF personnel in the bush. And these civilians did not took it upon themselves to take the body. They followed the right procedures. They went to police. And reaching to the police, to their assumption, they were thinking police will go to the bush, collect the body, put the body into the mortuary, and then inform the military barrack through their head or commander. And unfortunately, police went ahead and informed the military to go and visit the body. Literally, my brother Edmund, in this scenario, whom should we blame here as citizens? Should we blame police? Or should we blame the military? Or should we blame the civilian who reported the case to police? And another question you will answer together with that question is what happened with our police? Do they even know their mandates and their roles? Many people believe police is a cousin to the civilian. If anything happened to the civilian society, the first person to investigate and find out is the police. My brother, can you brief the public whether we will trust our policemen or we will not trust them? Thank you. You can activate the mic.
Thank you very much for the questions. Of course, really is a tragic incident. It's an incident that shakes everybody's feeling. Like if now that's what SSPDF is doing on civilian population, where is the safe locations? And as I said, it's not the first incident. Such incidents are happening in so many parts of the country where our soldiers are implicated. In some cases, the military court martials have come in and it have helped in sort of like rebuilding trust on civilians, that at least now there's a military justice approach in handling soldiers who are indisciplined, who takes away lives of the citizen. That's what I'd like to say. Coming to your question, who do we blame? The perpetrators are very clear, the SSPDF 5 soldiers who shot the 3 civilians dead. They are the criminals, they're the perpetrators, and they should be held accountable, and they should face due legal process. But our police are not clean also. Our police should be held accountable on a responsibility of negligence, because our police have shown a clear negligence that civilians has used, as you said, right procedures. They found a dead body, they reported to the police. The police have went to the site of the incident. They saw the dead body. Procedure, even if the police does not touch the body for investigative reasons, the police could have deployed some officers to be close to the dead body. And then they sent some of their colleagues to go and bring a delegation of the military where it will find a police close to the dead body. And could have been the police escorting the military to the dead body, not the police going to the military barracks and report the military barracks. Then orders is given the military barracks to the military to go and look at the dead body. And on the way, no police that escort the military to the site of where the dead body of the SSPDF soldier is, and there's no police at the presence where the dead body is. This is a complete demonstration of negligence from the police, and this tells you police have never known their mandate that is enshrined in South Sudan National Police Service Act, where they're supposed to be the first to deter any confrontation between the civilians and the military. This is one. Secondly, we have a police that is fearful of the military because the military is well equipped, the military is well empowered, and also the leadership of the country have allowed the military to overlook the police and overrun police, and specifically outside major towns. Places like Kajo-Keji, I don't think police have a strength of confronting the military. But this goes back to the police leadership. So the leadership of both police and military in Kajo-Keji should be held accountable, because the police leadership could have communicated the military leadership, and the police leadership in Kajo-Keji could have, I'm quite sure they have a similar rank to the rank of the military in the barracks. They could have used that high-level leadership and communicate to the military to be disciplined. So I think both we need to blame the leadership of the police and the leadership of the military in Kajo-Keji, and the 5 soldiers who were arrested are the perpetrators to be held accountable, but the top leadership of the police should be held responsible for negligence, and they should be punished for that. They should not only be allowed to walk clean. And the leadership of the military also in Kajo-Keji need to be punished for giving a wrong directives to the soldiers, because these soldiers, they didn't just went there and shot they one. I'm quite sure they're given directives. Go there, when you found a dead body, please try to make sure you discipline whoever is around. So that's, for me, that might have been an implication. Until the leadership of the military prove themselves that they have not made that orders is more important. Though even if they have arrested soldiers, the soldiers need to be given freedom to speak to the civilians. Were they given orders? So that only we don't execute the 5 soldiers who are arrested and we leave the leaders who might have given them all.
Yeah, the network, the connection is breaking down in Sumun. Can you hear us? Okay. So while we're waiting for his network to come back,
Sorry, you lost me a bit.
yes. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. So let me conclude my answer. My answer is that the leadership of the police in Kajo-Keji need to be held accountable for negligence. So they need to be held accountable for negligence, because it's a police leadership negligence that have led for the military to take away the lives of the civilians. Similar punishment have to go to the leadership of the military in Kajo-Keji, because also the military leaders of Kajo-Keji have a negligence of allowing soldiers to go in a very aggressive way. And that's why before we could execute the 5 soldiers that were involved in the shooting of the civilians, the soldiers need to be asked what triggered them to shoot at the civilians. Were they given orders? Because sometimes also we execute such soldiers while actually they have received directive from their bosses, so that their boss also are held accountable. So for me, really investigation where the soldiers who commit the crime, before they're executed, they should be given chance to have a say why they decided to shoot at the civilians. Maybe they have given directives so that we can also hold the leadership that gave the directives accountable, because that means the leadership that gave the directives for the soldiers to go and shoot at the civilians is more responsible for the death of the disease than the soldiers who shot. But the soldiers, of course, they are not free, because they are aware that as a military, they cannot take the law into their hand by shooting civilians dead. They have no any responsibility to take away the life of civilians. That's a crime that they have committed and to be held accountable to it. So for me, both police and the military in Kajo-Keji should be blamed for that act, because police is responsible for negligence and is to be held accountable. And the military leadership is also responsible for negligence. And the 5 soldiers that who are involved in shooting the civilians have committed a crime by shooting at civilians without in extrajudiciary manner. So for me, those are the people we need to blame. Now, what is the public opinion now about our military? Honestly, citizens across the country is losing trust and confidence on our military because our military is playing a very, very bad policing role that they claim lives of civilians. And this is, as I said, is across the country. Kajo-Keji is a tragic incident, but the incident has happened similar like that of Kajo-Keji in several parts of the country. There's no reform in the leadership of the military, in discipline the military. I know, like the case of VA, where they tried 14 soldiers through military court of martials for raping, which all of us we appreciated that in that particular trial. Recently, also there's a trial going across the country through military court of martials. We appreciate that, but we don't want it to be delayed. Need to be timely, but also need to learn from those mistakes because you can't allow these mistakes to continue. As an institution, one mistake gives you an opportunity to check on your system. So the military leadership is not taking these mistakes seriously. Where I will tell you, Kajo-Keji may not be the last incident. We may soon also see similar incident somewhere. This may keep them to be disciplined for a while, but that's something that completely without reform, our army will be they will avoid this incident happening. This incident may happen somewhere soon in a period of either 1 month, 2 months, we may see similar incident because we have seen similar tragic incidents. Like if you see the distance between the incident in Lokmonok and the incident in Kajo-Keji, the period is very short. I've never taken 1 month, but this incident happened. So for me, we blame both police and the military. So provision of safety and security for our citizens across the country is under jeopardy, is under question. And that's why I wish that the leadership of the country should really speak to this seriously and with concrete solutions. Political statements, condemnation is not the answer. The answer is what the citizens have expressed in Kajo-Keji. And if you see that expression is everywhere, even if you remember recently in Abia, the civil society in Abia town almost raised the same messages that we have seen in Kajo-Keji. So if you look those messages across the country, can happen everywhere. Similar message will come, like what I've heard from Kajo-Keji, we have heard in Abia. We can hear everywhere where military take the law into their hand to claim lives of innocent civilians. Over there to you.
Thank you, Brother Edmund. It's really sad, Edmund. Yeah, yesterday, I took time to watch a clip which were recorded when the 3 bodies were lying down by the local youth. And the explanations and what you just explained now are the same thing. They were saying these soldiers involved in looting. And they even took these deceased 2 brothers, sister. Literally, when you hear such information, Brother Edmund, that soldiers went and collect all the phones from the civilians. And then they returned 2 phones after the owners of those phones gave them alcohol. And you clearly mentioned that the deceased soldier with a rope on his neck, which is assumed to commit suicide, was seen involving robbing and looting, terrorizing locals in the area. And many people perceive maybe the locals might have gang up and kill him because of looting. Surely, what can you say in regard to such, Brother Edmund? Soldiers in their barrack are coming out to go and loot, taking phones, alcohol, food, and some other valuable items from the locals. Are these soldiers telling us that they don't have services being provided to them in their barrack, or what forces them to commit such unethical and unacceptable behaviors toward the civilian? Activate your mic, Edmund.
Thank you very much. There's one factual situation that is facing our soldiers. One, our soldiers are many, and they don't have adequate regular salaries. So they're not paying regular salaries. And what I describe as adequate, at least a salary that can earn them living. They have a very small size of salary that even does not come regular. It comes either after 3 months or 4 months, and sometimes even is deducted by their bosses. Secondly, they don't have a code of conduct for ethical engagement. Some of them come from the background of militias and find themselves as a military officers to save defense in the country. So they don't have proper military orientation to have ethics. 3, the leadership of the military in a such situation also, because they don't have regular salaries, they have no control over the behaviors of the officers, simply because they don't pay the officers enough money. So the officers take the law into their hand. And even sometimes the officers terrorize the life of their own bosses. You remember, it has happened even in our Ministry of Defense headquarters. Less than a year, a soldier shot his boss. You remember that incident in Bilfam? And the soldier, of course, was shot. And that is inside the Ministry of Defense, headquarters of the operation of our defense system. So there's a case that soldiers across the country are not regularly paid. And because there's this military orientation during training that the barrel of the gun is everything for you, they take that ideology that they can eat through the barrel of the gun. And for me, that's really a country leadership problem. That also want to say the way how our soldiers behave is contributed by the behaviors of our military leadership in the country by not taking the welfare of the soldiers seriously. They are okay, they are well off, they eat, their kids are in Kampala, they are studying, some of them are in Nairobi, living in luxurious houses. Some of them are involved in logging, like in Kajo-Keji. They are seriously top officers involved in logging. And you remember logging, it became a big issue in Central Equatoria until the parliament comes in. They have their source of income alternatively. While these soldiers have irregular salaries, they have families they have to take care of, they have children they have to take care of. So the children of the officers are studying. And these soldiers see their bosses' children are enjoying life and their own family not enjoying life. They don't have positive stories as the soldiers when they sit together to narrate about the life of their children in school, how they're performing. While if they sit as a protection team, as a bodyguards to their senior officers, they see their senior officers telling stories. My children are in the school, the academic year is coming, one of them is performing well, I'm happy with my firstborn, or even on phone calls, they communicate with their families in either in the neighboring countries like Uganda and Kampala, and the soldiers are listening, while the soldiers' children are suffering, and they expect their fathers to take care of them like the way how the bosses of their fathers are taking care of their children. This raises psychological and emotional torture that implicate on the behaviors of the soldiers becoming drunkards. Because I have seen these incidents. I'm on the ground, I've been interacting with the soldiers. They become drunkards, and when a soldier is drunk, and with a gun in hand where he's not disciplined, that is the consequences of what we have seen in Kajo-Keji. So for me, that is a situation where our military is in. That's really, really terrible. And the other thing that also we have lost is that we have lost the flow of command control over our forces. Some commanders have some divisions that they act on their own. Because one of the actual questions you can raise, when the soldiers left the barracks in Kajo-Keji and they're going to the site of the incident, what makes those soldiers feel they're so powerful that they can shoot at the civilians? Because of asking who killed this person, our colleague, and the civilians say, we don't know, and you just decide to shoot at them. It seems they've been practicing these things several times, and none of them has been disciplined, and they see it as a normal military practice because they want to discipline civilian population. So for me, it's a really sad moment, it's a tragic moment, but it is a situation that we need to confirm that the leadership of our military is not in control of the forces, and the nature that we don't take welfare of our soldiers. We have seen these atrocities. As I said, even it happened in the headquarters of a military where a soldier shot at his senior officer, and now that's why they turn against the civilian. So the soldiers are looting, are robbing the civilians. Because I was telling you, I was recently on my way. I came to Wow, I went to Awil, I went to Kwajok. Anybody, you come to realize you are in a car, because I use public transport car to assess the level of trust. You come to realize in the vehicle as we're going on the way, driving from Wow to Awil, any person who come in uniform of military, immediately it changed the mood of the passengers in the car. If you're smiling or telling stories, the moment somebody surfaces in front with a gun, with a uniform, everybody goes quiet. So you don't hear anybody expressing. But you see that everybody's eyes at the soldier. If the car passes the soldier, everybody's eyes turn to the soldier to see whether he's cocking his gun. When the moment you leave him at a distance, the story started again. So there's a high level of fear from civilians against our uniformed military officers. Why? Because our officers are aggressive. Why they're aggressive? Because also their welfare is not taken seriously by the leadership. So it's a combination of factors that have created that behaviors that we have seen in Kajo-Keji. Thank you.
Thank you, Edmond. Before we move further, there is something here we need to get it clearly, and also our audience need to seek a clear answer in regard to it. When soldiers left the barrack, and they were directed by the police to go where the body is, and they found the three gentlemen. Were they standing around the body, or they found them on the way heading to where the dead body was? Or were they standing around the dead body waiting for the army to come? Or were they standing as spectators to witness or see what is happening? Or they met them along the way?
Yes, the soldiers came into contact with these civilians. Are you getting me?
Yes, we are getting you.
Yeah. The soldiers come into contact with these three civilians who are actually family members. When the first vehicle of the military arrived to the site of where the dead body is, they couldn't know where is the dead body, the military. So they're looking for civilians around. They're asking that we had there's a dead body here, where it is. So these three civilians were found at the distance from where the dead body is. They are at their home. They are just like sitting at their home, and they were asked, we had this dead body here. Do you know where it is? Then they volunteer with the best interest that they're cooperating and they're helping the military to find the dead body. They say, yeah, we know where the dead body is. Then the military say, can you escort us? So they escort the military. So they're at a far distance from where the dead body is. They escort the military, then they show the military, there is the dead body. So when the military saw the dead body, immediately they ordered these three civilians to sit down. So they sat down. When they sat down, they asked, who killed our colleague? So the first, to the best of my knowledge in my assessment, is that they all respond, we don't know. So as they respond, they don't know. The one of disease called Jacobo, the one of 18 years, was shot, and immediately his younger brother of 16 years was shot at the same time. Then the 38 years old man, who is a bomber administrator, was not shot immediately. He asked them, what is wrong? Why are you shooting at these children? We don't know who killed. Immediately also they shot at him. So when they shot at him, the second vehicle, where it's a combined police and military, arrived to the scene and found the first vehicle, which have 5 soldiers, have already shot 3 civilians around the dead body. And that became the beginning of the row, and communication coming that 3 civilians were assassinated by the soldiers in the site. So the good enough that there's evidence and the witnesses that have seen the military asking them, and they escort the military. So they were not in the site, they are not like watching at the body, or they are not like found close to the body. They were asked to help, to cooperate, to point out where the dead body is. And they thought they're cooperating with the military to show them the body where it is. So that's how clear it is. So they're not found alongside the dead body, or they were not found like close house to where the disease is, but they were asked to escort. So they have to escort for a bit distant, but they become victims of that action that they did. Thank you over there.
Yeah, thank you, Edmond. That's what we really need to get it clearly, because it is clear that the three deceased actually were the victim of their generosity and sympathies to go and show the soldiers where the dead body was. But the last question, or the second last question, is, according to the interview which were conducted yesterday on the SARS by the youth, and they post them on social media, 2 separate interviews. They said these soldiers took these deceased brothers' sister. Did you hear such incident? Like they abduct the girls, the sister to the 2 deceased brothers?
Yes. Yes, they took the sister. She's a breastfeeding mother, and other 4, the actual 5 civilians under custody of the military for investigation, and which is really disturbing. As I want to repeat myself here. They abduct the sister of the deceased brothers, and they took other 4 civilians with them. There's 5 civilians, but also, as I said, they have beaten enough big number of people, over 10, and 1 elderly woman who is until at hospital level. She was hospitalized, but of course they took 14 phones. Then they returned 2 phones to the owners. They have took with them 12 phones. These are some of the properties that they have taken in terms of phones, and they have 5 civilians with them, including the sister of the deceased brothers, who is a breastfeeding mother.
Thank you. It's beyond human thinking, and sometimes it's only that in South Sudan, my brother Edmond. I don't know, did you interact with any of the parliamentarian, and what is their take in regard to this incident? We have seen yesterday students from Kajo-Keji who are studying in Uganda went for a demonstration to show solidarity, standing with their people back home. What is the stand of our parliament in regard to this incident? And what is the stand of the state in regard to the same incident?
Yeah, thank you. In regards to state leadership of Central Equatorial State, they formed a security committee. The security committee had a lengthy discussion over this incident, and later on the security committee condemned, and governor of Central Equatorial State, Honorable Adil Emmanuel, condemned in his Facebook page. But also we have seen in the Central Equatorial State gubernatorial social media page, the WhatsApp group, they have issued a statement in the WhatsApp group as a government of Central Equatorial State. And we have seen quite a number of condemnation in various social media from the MPs. Of course, this incident happened weekend. But what I like to bring to attention is that we have not seen an official statement of the government of Central Equatorial State. Because, one of the things that I was interacting with quite a number of leaders of Central Equatorial State is that issuing a statement in social media platform may not carry a serious legitimacy, even authenticity. It may not be authentic. You need to really have a statement in a state letterhead with stamp of the state, or even by the governor, like what I've seen in other states when such tragic incident happen. The state government issue official statement, not in social media platform, because social media platform is not trustworthy. It can be manipulated, and you can't use a social media press statement to justify an evidence about the state showing responsibility of compliance. The Facebook page of the governor, yes, that's a statement, but that's a statement as a governor at his capacity. But the statement of the Central Equatorial government is very important. And we have been pushing some politicians. Some of them are saying, no, look here, the one on the social media is enough. I said, this is not enough. We need to see an official statement of the government of Central Equatorial. Actually, it happened, the Youth Union of Central Equatorial State have issued official statement in their letterhead. But the state government have never seen in their letterhead. This one thing. Obviously, there's a parliamentary committee already established by the Central Equatorial State government from Central Equatorial State Parliament to go quickly to the ground to investigate. I'm quite sure they will be joined by their members of National Parliament and Council of States. As usual, committees are formed that can take over that. So we have seen condemnation from government institutions, even the leadership, as I repeat, the leadership of South Sudan People Defense Force, in personality of the spokesperson Lul Wai, have issued a statement condemning the incident and promising the public that justice will prevail within the military system for those perpetrators of the murder of the 3 innocent civilians. That's what has been made. But obviously, we need to see immediate provision of justice as a way of telling the citizen that we are not only ending up with condemnation statement or political statement or formation of committees that will drag feet without providing justice, because that incident is an incident that you don't tolerate it if you want to win trust and confidence of the citizens in terms of the function of the military. But obviously, one thing that I know is going to be problematic, if there's no end change of the military leadership, I don't think the city of Kajo-Keji will trust the military leadership there and the forces until change is done. And since majority are in the camp, they may not come back to farm, and that means the pressure on the international community to provide aid to the refugees in Uganda and the pressure for food insecurity in Kajo-Keji, it may be high. And that's why I'm saying these days, the absence of rule of law and the misconduct of our armed forces at their various capacity and the intercommunal violence become factors that are driving food insecurity in the country, because people cannot perform agricultural activities when their lives are at risk, the manner that we have seen in Kajo-Keji and in other parts of the country, that we have seen people who volunteer to farm, but their life are taken away by their own soldiers that they believe will provide them safety and protection. So for me, there's a lot required from the leadership of the country to act quickly and to stop repetition of such murder in across the country. The other thing that, before I forget, I'd like to share with the audience is that, my brothers, these incidents that are happening now in various parts of the country, and also we have seen the increase in statements that are coming now focusing more ethnic focused or community focused. It is now, the trend is escalating to become wider and wider. My worry is that if the government didn't take a serious steps to prevent the continuity of this communal deadly violence and the misbehaviors of our security and defense forces in taking away lives of civilians, like what happened in Kajo-Keji, we are planting seeds of genocide. We have seen some of this incident described as a crime against humanity, but I think seeds of genocide has been planted. And I don't know what is our politician thinking. I know recently, less than a week, President have ordered the Council of States to manage the deadly communal violence, and you have asked the Council of State to do an assessment at a state-based conflict. But sometimes such directives are ignored by those who hold the money. They will never facilitate such directives. Such directives may die as naturally as the decree of the president for the return or eviction of the cattle from the areas of where they're causing havoc to go back to their original homelands. It may be ignored because such directives sometimes are undermined by people who are supposed to put resources for such directives to be executed. So for me, that's the fear I have, is that our country is sliding slowly in an environment where seeds of genocides have been planted. And one day we'll be surprised to see that we are dealing with ourselves as if we have never struggled for the independence of our state. We look like we are foreigners to each other, as if we didn't vote together for referendum to have independent country of South Sudan. And that's why even now there's a voice of people saying, this independence, did we vote to be a curse or did we vote it to be a blessing? Of course, majority expect it to be a blessing, but some few stubborn and unlawful and unethical South Sudanese are showing that our independence is a curse to our lives. So I think that's the message I'd like to convey. Thank you over there.
Thank you, Brother Edmund Yakani. You mentioned it very clearly, my brother, that we are planting the seed of genocide. And to my perspective and my perception, I can confidently report to you, my brother, that the seed of genocide was planted 5 years ago. What we are seeing now is the irrigation process. People are trying to irrigate the seed in order to germinate and grow. And it will be so sad if we reach to that extent. The best thing for our government is to make sure this seed will never grow or germinate, at least to rescue the country. I will yield it back to my co-host if he has any questions to pose to you. And I understand we have our audience on Clubhouse who might be interested to pose some of the questions. And to let you know, my brother Edmund, these incidences that are happening since the beginning of this year, the security situation, the countrywide is deteriorating. And it is actually irrigating the tree of tribalism. People are hitting each other so much, especially here on social media, because of such incidents. And we don't really know what should we do as citizens of that country. To the parliamentarians, people still have hope. When the parliament was not constituted, many people were hoping that if the parliament will be constituted, then they will stand up and speak for the citizen and act as the voice of the voiceless. And unfortunately, our assumptions have been proved by the parliamentarians that we were assuming wrong people. I was not expecting them to be quiet in such incident, that the right platform to stand up, even if it means to someone the leadership of SSPDF, then they can do that. They can summon them in the parliament and question them. Number two, also to send a bad signal to our soldiers that our soldiers were not trained to have the spirit of nationalism, to protect the sovereignty of the country. It is so sad, and it is sad indeed. I will yield it back to my co-host, Abraham Adit, to pose the questions and also to look at our viewers on Facebook if they have any comments or questions under the comments section, and then maybe our audience on Clubhouse. Abraham Adit, you can activate your mic and you post some questions to our guests. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, brother Joke on Usas Edmund. So thank you for coming in and give the public update. This is one of the things that before I do put it, I just would like to say on behalf of Lake State Media, we send our heartfelt condolences to the family who's lost their loved one, those three innocent souls. That is, we have to condemn any incident happen like this. Also, we have to come out and condemn it, because loss of human life every day in South Sudan become a norm in that country, which is a very sad to see. Losing the young people, young generation that can take the country, move the country forward, they're losing their life in very young age on the hand of their own soldiers. The military is supposed to protect the civilian. So that is a tragedy. We said that, let the people know, people of Kajo-Keji know that we stand with them, we comfort them, we pray for them, for all these people. This is the message we are sending. Also, we are sending the message to the government of South Sudan to hold these soldiers accountable, bring them to justice. So let these three innocent souls rest in peace, and give the family the procedures and justice that they deserve. So that is for the record. I said that this topic, Joke and Edmund, we will not be questioned a lot, because the only thing that you two touch, very relevant and very important point that our people are doing, tribalism. in social media in pressure, because whenever incident like this happen, our people will just jump into social media without accurate information, post the wrong image, post just writing, you see, and they don't know what will be outcome. They don't know what exactly happened. So this is a bit dangerous to our people. So we need to encourage South Sudanese who are using social media to be very careful what you post, because Facebook now, everybody in South Sudan that using it, whether in the village, in the cattle camp, everybody that they have a smartphone and they have access to Facebook. Anything you post, everybody can read that, and then they will end up later on. It will become a full allegation. So that is the message that I want to send to South Sudanese who are using the social media platform. Our brother Edmund, what can be done for this? Because seeing that incident 2 days ago on Thursday, yesterday, we have seen some of these people come out using this incident as a tribal line. People are using those bad word actions for tribal things. What your message to these people? What can be done? What they can, we the people that see things in different way they see, what can you tell them? What can you advise them to stay away from this negative propaganda thing they are using in social media?
Thank you. Am I clear?
Yes, you are clear.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think for me, I would like to urge every South Sudanese, wherever they are, if they're engaging in social media, my key message is let's abstain from hostile propaganda and hate speech. Everybody should abstain from that. I don't target one particular side of the parties in conflict, but all parties in conflict should abstain, because there's a sharp increase in hate speech and hostile propaganda in the social media following these incidents. As I'm speaking with you now, today I've been looking, because we are now having a track of hate speech and hostile propaganda in the social media. So today we spotted about 5 cases of hostile propaganda that I feel are really very bad. And I would like to quote some of them here so that people know it very well, the audience. Maybe some of the audience who are with us here might have come across them, or also some of the audience might have friends of those who raise those papers, or some of them may be also engaging in writing those messages. Number one, there was a statement that, of course, outside Kajo-Keji, because I want to respond to where are we now with hostile propaganda and hate speech in social media. There was a statement issued by a group, which I don't think it's a group, really, it's an individual, who claimed to be representing the community of Twitch County of Warap. Issue a statement, say it is an alarm, it's a warning that the Ngok Dinka youth are designing a strategy for assassination square of intellectuals, leaders, elite, youth, influential traders of Twitch. And they are having series of meetings, and they have come out with a list of names that they want to kill these people all. And that is number one. And it was uploaded in one of a social media platform. And I appreciate the owner of the media social platform, where this message, when it popped immediately, they put it off and they send a signal that their platform is not used for raising as such hostile propaganda and hate speech. That's number one that I've come across. The second one, I've come across a group who claim, because I also cross-examine with the community of Kajo-Keji, a group who claim that they have ordered, starting from tonight, anybody who is a non-Kuku should be dealt with, which actually I don't think that represents any interest within the community of Kajo-Keji, whether being in country or in diaspora, but that may be a group of 3 or 4 people who want to trigger that, or even they may need to use that so that more civilians are harmed in Kajo-Keji. That's the second one that I have come across. The third one, we came across today, it is a statement of somebody who claimed that Denkabur have bought new weaponry, and what they're deciding is that they should start dealing with the lives of civilians of Equatoria first in any Dinka land, which I don't think that represents an opinion, but that's a group of people who are raising it. So these are the three top from the other two, which are a bit mild. But also sometimes people say there's no smoke without a fire. Maybe some individuals are sending signals of their thought. And that's why I like to say to everybody, you may propagate hatred, hate speech, or hostile propaganda, but it may claim lives of so many people. And one thing I'd like to send very clear is that we are using social media. We're not using an air or traditional media that the evidence of your own message will disappear forever. Those messages, one day, one time, will lead to a point where you will be called to a court of law to answer the consequences of your own post that you posted emotionally without thinking twice. And that post of yours might have led to a genocide or commitment of crime against humanity. Remember the Rwandan genocide. Level, a traditional media journalist have caused a harm, and until he was held accountable because his records were saved. So whoever propagate hate and hostile propaganda right now, all these documents are documented. All this evidence are documented, and they are saved that one day, one time, it will be used to bring you to face justice, or it will be used to condemn your name, or it will be used to make your name to be written to the books of evil individuals that have contributed to the loss of lives in South Sudan. So I would like to really say that let us be mature enough, let us be responsible enough that we don't propagate, we don't promote hostile propaganda and hate speech. And we should not use that as a strength of mobilizing responses. But we should use a clear evidence that we need to call for accountability and justice. And when people call for accountability and justice in an honest way, that should not be taken like it's a crime that that particular group of be insulted, they need to be described with all nonsense, or they need to be threatened by having these messages. Because for me, it has to level even our leaders. Some of them are involved in issuing statements that may constitute a content of hate speech or hostile propaganda. The way they use it, it's becoming terrible. Like, I want to use an example. I was in WOW. When I'm in WOW, a statement made with one of our renowned leader, our former Minister of Defense, Honorable Kwal Manyang, have made a statement that Raja is no man's place. This has raised tension among the community of Raja. And you have seen the statements that comes from community of Raja because of that statement. And they're demanding our leader to apologize for that. And that have raised eyebrow. That Raja community say like, so our place is seen as no man. So the analysis, some people take their own analysis and they drive emotions. It become a point of mobilization of Raja community towards that. And that's what I like to say, it is upon ourselves individually to be responsible enough not to promote violence through the use of social media, and specifically the pattern of hatred, the pattern of hate speech, the pattern of hostile propaganda. Honestly, if you are very far, you don't feel the pain. But if you're like us on the ground, every day you shed tears and you see life of innocent civilians, children, women are lost in a very, 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 very neglective way, irresponsibly, in extrajudicial act, that you start wondering, are these people nationalists? Are these people really have embraced the struggle that they have lost lives of millions of innocent South Sudanese to bring this state of South Sudan? Is this the way? Even I remember some people are telling me, we are so sorry and we're so grateful that we have supported the cost of you becoming an independent state. If we knew that this is the way how you're going to behave, we could have not commit ourselves to it. Though they say it's not a first case in the world that they have seen, but they say, why should we repeat what we could have learned out of it in South Sudan? So for me, take responsibility to abstain and from contributing in propagating hate speech, hatred, propaganda, and tribes are God blessings. We shouldn't use it as a ticket to silence others or to bully others or to make a strand of targeting others. Let us take responsibility as nationalists and let's stand up for the nation. But that comes when we embrace rule of law, good governance, when we're able to listen to voices of people like the voice that come from Kajo-Keji. Let their voices define the solution to what they describe as a sustainable solution for the situation that has affected them. Thank you over there.
Thank you, Brother Yakini. Let me microphone back to Joe, and then we will end the show.
Thank you, Abraham Adit. You asked a very important question. And to add it a bit to my brother Edmund Yakani response, to be honest, my brother Edmund, I personally have seen the people who are always and constantly irrigating the trees of hatred among South Sudanese. And many leaders are not exceptional. And most especially the opposition leaders. They are constantly trying to make sure South Sudanese are deeply divided and hate themselves simply because of leadership. And to let you know, my brother, the last thing or the backstop of every situation is leadership. South Sudanese hatred and tribalism is growing to the highest level day by day. And someone may ask, what will be the solution to this? Like what Abraham did post before. To myself, the only solution that I can see is only leadership. If the South Sudan national leadership stand up and set things right and hold everyone accountable, despite the tribe you are coming from, despite the rank that you have in the military, despite the money that you have in accounts that you may use to bribe people so that you can get out of the hawk, then my brother, South Sudanese citizens will unite themselves automatically. But because of leadership, that's why you see them, they're so desperate. They pray, some of them even pray harder so that some atrocities can be committed in order to blame everything squarely on the leadership. Citizens have abandoned their responsibilities. And this is where the problem is. Citizens are no longer neutral. They allowed themselves to be manipulated. They allowed themselves to follow the politicians who are struggling day and night to secure themselves positions in order to continue with their usual and known business in the country. It will be so sad and it will be so hard for us to rescue the level of tribalism in the heart and in the mind of normal South Sudanese. And to give you a challenge as a CEO of SEPO, you know it, my brother. SEPO, you have done a tremendous job in the region of Barakazal and the region of Upper Nile. And I need you to review your mandate and you look at the objectives, because you were so much into the issues of communal violence. It has now, at least, you have done your part. But is it possible for you to amend your mandate so that you can also champion the campaign against tribalism and hatred? I'm happy that you always verify the informations and the fake and propaganda news being circulated on social media. That is a good thing to do. You have to align yourself with some of the national organization, align yourself with the national newspapers, and also the SSBC as a national television. They need also to align, you need to align yourself to them and schedule for you at least one day, like Saturday, 30-minute interview, and invite you activists to come and talk and sensitize our people. We so much sinking into the sea of So to my brother Edmund, thank you so much for being with us and for coming to clarify the information and the incident that took place in Kajo-Keji. The four things stood out clearly. Number one, the incident was committed, the perpetrators are SSPDF, not Dinka personnel, as it was perceived by other people on social media. The second thing here that stood out clearly in your remark and among the interviews which were conducted in Kajo-Keji is that these three deceased were shot by SSPDF, and they were not even involved themselves in one way or the other to the death of SSPDF personnel. Thirdly, you mentioned it very clearly that the picture that circulated on social media for the last 2 days that demonstrate two people stepped on the dead body, that picture is not connected to the incident of Kajo-Keji in one way or the other. The picture happened in different locality with the different stories, but it was sent out by people to make sure the agenda reach out to the people they intend to feed with such fake and propaganda news. That thing is, you explained it clearly, and it stood out at its best. The fourth one is that the four perpetrators, SSPDF soldiers, were arrested and they are now still under the investigation. The state authorities have already formed the committee to investigate. The fifth one is that the leadership of SSPDF sent out the clear message. They condemned the incident and they have promised the citizens of South Sudan, and particularly the citizens of Kajo-Keji, that these people will face the justice in shortest period time possible. So my brother Yakani Edmund, thank you for that, and to all our viewers, let's get that message the way it is, and we don't need to filter it, we don't need to add anything to it. And if we have any doubt, then all this information are subject to verification by anybody. You can contact anyone on the ground, and then you compare the two information. This is what I can say, Abraham Adit, and thank you so much for inviting Edmond Yakani to come and clarify the incident, and to conclude with the people of Kajo-Keji, to the mother of the two deceased brothers or sons. We are really in solidarity with you. As Lagos State Media, we condemn it, and we will pray with you together. And we are in deep sorrows at this current dark time in the history of our country. May God be with you, and may God give you courage to overcome this dark and sunset period. Thank you so much, and may God bless you all. I yield it back to my brother, Abraham Adit.
Thank you so much, Brother Majuk Makur, and thank you, our guests, Mr. Ingmun, for coming in and give update the public about what happened in Kajo-Keji. So those 5 things that Brother Makur mentioned, those are the things that all the audience in Facebook, YouTube, and Clubhouse, that's the right information you have to take it with you. Do not take any information in social media out there and take it. This is the right information right here. Legislative media always reach out to the place where the incident happened and will bring the right information to you. So that being said, so for those of South Sudanese, please do not take the incident happened in Kajo-Keji into a wrong direction. Take it as it is. And for people of Kajo-Keji, we are standing with you. We are praying with you. We praying for the people, for the family who lost their loved one. We are so, I know you guys are in pain. We are all in pain with you. We are praying with you. And also to the government of South Sudan, please do not, these people who kill these innocent people, bring them into justice. That's what we're calling for. All South Sudanese, we are calling for that. Thank you very much, Brother Majok Makur. Have a wonderful day tomorrow. Announcement very quick before I close down the show. Tomorrow at 3 p.m. Juba local time, we will be having a guest here at Legislative Media, a Morley community chairman, Mr. David will be here, and we will be interviewing him. So for those of you who see that post that we announced a couple of days ago, if you have a question and you want to post, please send us your question earlier before the show starts. That's the announcement. Thank you very much for watching. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful night. May God bless you all. May God bring comfort to the people of Kajo-Keji, especially for the mother and father and the relative. God be with them. Thank you. Have a good night.
It's your boy Young Love, I give him that thing. Pancho Legistan, Panchi America, Panji Dwell, Pancho Legistan, Panchi America, Panji Dwell, Ban walk on the lake, Kankaro, what on the watching, Oga, level leg, gear, pow, leg, Panda with Yae, Panchi America, Pania Dwell, Chingatonga Pandon, could you ever buy a check out? Patu Panda Jiro, what there be Dwell venting. Stand Panchi America, Panji Dwell, Banaban Pantaleg stand Panchi America, Panji Dwell, Banaban walk on the lake, Kankaro, what on the watching, Oga, level leg, gear, pow, leg, Panda with Yae, Panchi America, Pania Dwell, Chingatonga Pandon, could you ever buy a check out? Patu Panda Jiro, what there be Dwell venting.